Hi, my name is Wayne, and this is Type Tested. Something very short and relatively simple today, but important for those who are interested in the Selectric typewriters. And that involves the time I spent studying and learning this particular typewriter. Now, in order to learn a bit about it, I had to be able to see the escapement. So let me zoom in here and show you what I was looking at. If I can get everything to cooperate. Then I can show you what I want to do. Now, this plate here is responsible for setting and clearing the tab. Now, to make it a little bit easier to see the escapement, I had to remove this plate. And after doing so, I also had to get it back in place and adjust it correctly. And that takes a little bit of understanding. So let me go ahead and take the feed rollers off here. Usually you just pull one to the side. Then you can tip one side over and free up the other one. But it's also handy to put a rubber band around these 2 points here in order to keep these from falling down and getting in the way of the carriage as it moves back and forth. Now, since I'm not actually going to do anything here, I don't really have to do that, but I will back this up just a little bit so I can show more of what I want to explain. So now that these are both out of the way, let me zoom in a little bit more. Oh, a little too much. And you can see that we have 2 screws. One here, one here. We also have a little spring right here. Now this spring is trapped under this little, I don't know if you could exactly call it a hook, this little projection here, and attached to this hole in this post here. Now, if you're going to take this off to look at the escapement, you need to remove that spring as well. However, I caution you, it can be kind of a pain to get back on, and it can somewhat be kind of a pain to get off. So there is no hole on this end. It simply loops around this downward projection here. So when you're going to put it back on, hook this end first and then deal with that. But be careful you don't overstretch the spring, and also know that it has a tendency to kind of want to get loose on you. And as you're moving the tab bracket around, this will also tend to come loose on you. So you should put that on last. That means you're going to have to do a few things in order to make sure everything works right, but that should come on last. Now, let me explain the tab system here. What we have, let's come down here and I will zoom in. You'll notice that the slots here are not evenly spaced. What we have is a repeating pattern. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and on this last 2, there is a narrow spot in between. That is a compromise because of the dual pitch on this. Now, if you put the tabs in 10 or 12, they're not necessarily going to stop at the same spot. If you were to simply change this out for a different size bar, a 10 pitch, you wouldn't stop properly in every place in 12, and a 12, you wouldn't stop properly in every place in 10. In fact, you'd tend to have some sections where there are 2 tabs that are basically on the same spot. You end up in a half space situation. Now, as far as tabs go, it doesn't necessarily matter so much where you stop, as long as you stop in the same point every time. And that's where the compromise comes in. So it lets you get around the 2 and 1 with the 10 and 12. Another thing to note on this is that there are bits here and bits there. So these are attached to the same plate within the tab setup. So if I push one of these down, you can see that this here moves. If I push this back up, you can see that that moves. So this is actually the tab stop. This is what you use to set and clear the tab. So that's what we're going to be focusing on right now. So if you'll note, let me see if I can get this in view without, I don't think I'm going to be able to do this. Give me just a second, let me find a diagram. Okay, I have a drawing here from the service manual. So these are the two screws I was pointing out. So this is the plate. Of course, there's a little bit of cutaway. And here is the back of that plate. Now you can see that there is a little bit hanging down behind this tab stop. And this little bit here sitting in front of the tab stops. So when the bar rotates up, this will push on that tab. When the bar rotates down to set a stop, this will pull on that tab. So when we're looking at the plate in here, we have to remember that. And it's I can show it to you easily if I took the bracket out, but I would rather just show the diagram for this particular purpose. So let me get back in here, and what you can see is this plate here. So if I set a tab, you can see the tab bar rotates up, and this is now down away from the others. If I clear, you can see the tab bar is tilted forward, and this bit here pushes that tab stop back in place, down and up. Now to adjust this correctly, it has to work for both the 10 and the 12 pitch. And that's where this little partial slot comes in. Now what should happen is it should stop on the first one on 10 pitch and on the second one on 12 pitch. So in order to do this, what you need to do is you need to set your machine in 10 pitch mode, and then you need to advance your carriage over to one of these, if things work right. And you need to adjust the lateral position of this bar so that when you set a tab in 12 pitch mode or in 10 pitch mode, it will move both of these down. And when you clear, it will push both of them up. So what should happen here, if you look at the position, this edge of this bar should be just to the right of this tab stop. Now, another factor is making sure that the plate is not too far forward or backwards, and that it's not tilted laterally. If this, when you set the tabs, if one is too far up or doesn't get cleared enough, then it can interfere with the operation of the typewriter. So you need to make sure that it's a little bit, that there's a little bit of room on either side. Now, if I set this into 12 pitch mode, you'll see that the carriage just moved. So now, if I backspace 1, and I set that tab, come on, focus up, Did I put the wrong key? There we go. So we backspace again. So now I'm in 12 pitch mode. So I'm going to go set a tab, and you notice that only the right tab stop got pushed forward. And if I clear it, only that one gets pushed back. If I go back into 10 pitch mode and then backspace again, and then go to set, both tabs get pushed forward, both tab stops, and both tab stops get cleared. So this is what to look for when you're going to adjust this bracket. And that's done, of course, with the 2 screws up here. Loosen them just a little bit. I don't even mean half a turn, a quarter or maybe less, because that spring that's up here is going to be causing you problems the whole time by pulling on the bracket. So where possible, you need to have these screws loosened only slightly. Let's see if I can get a better view. Yeah. You need to make sure that these screws are loosened only slightly so there's still a decent amount of tension on it, so that as you're moving the bracket around, whether with a screwdriver or with your fingers, that when you get done moving it, it doesn't immediately move back. Anyway, that's what I wanted to show today. Simple tab adjustment, tab set stop adjustment on a dual pitch Selectric 2. This applies to any dual pitch Selectric. I just happen to have a late era Selectric 2 here. So let's go ahead and put the feed rollers back in. So tip the one up so I can get room to line it up to that hole. Take the other one here, put it through the one hole, and then deflect the other side. And a note about this too, you will want to make sure to watch this little bracket right here. Because if you put too much flex on this, this can pop out of this little setting here. And when you go to pull the paper release, pop this out just so I can show you. Yeah, actually, yeah. You go to pull the paper release, you notice that it's not grabbing that side of the feed roller, so it's not coming down. So you want to make sure that you get this solidly in place and then put a little bit of pressure on it to make sure that everything re-engages. Otherwise, you're going to find that your paper release doesn't work quite right. Anyway, that's all I wanted to do for now. Once again, my name is Wayne, and this is Type Tested.